Hello everyone, and welcome to Debonair Cyber. My name is Devin, and in today's video we're going to be continuing down the Intro to Red Team track in Hack the Box. In today's machine, called Jerry, we're going to be going over Apache Tomcat, login, brute forcing, and creating custom payloads. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so let's kick things off here. We've got our machine pulled up, Jerry. We have our target IP address, and we're going to click to copy that. Bring it over here into our virtual machine, and we want to make sure that we have that put into our etc hosts file. And this one I've already put in, but you would paste that IP in here and label it. I usually like to label it the machine.htb, the name of the machine.htb. So exit out of that, clear the screen here. The very next thing we want to do is put together a folder structure so that we can stay organized. So I'm going to move into my Hack the Box directory here. We can specify the P flag to put together multiple folders at the same time. Jerry in an mmap folder. We'll move into that new folder structure here and start our nmap scan. What I like to do is do a scan of all ports with the P- flag and a fast scan so that we're not sitting here waiting all day on it. We're going to, since we put that in our etc host file, we can specify the host name instead of the IP address. We're just going to click enter and wait for those results to come back. Okay, so with this one being a Windows machine, sometimes we can get this error where the host seems down and it's telling us if it's blocking ping probes, try -pn to stop sending the ping scans that nmap does by default. So we can add that to our command and press enter once again, and we'll wait for those to come back. Alright, and with all that, we finally get these results back, and this is really interesting. We only have one port that is exposed. We can see here that it is port 8080, and that nmap is telling us this is an HTTP proxy. So what we can do with that is go over to our browser. We can use the host name that we put in earlier. And we do have to make sure that we put in a :8080 when we browse to this so that we know that we're specifying that specific port 8080 instead of going to port 80 or 443 with HTTP or HTTPS respectively. And we find ourselves on an Apache Tomcat homepage. If you're seeing this, you've successfully installed Tomcat. Congratulations. So from here, there are a few ways that we could go. One of the most common ways that we can get access to the back end of this Apache Tomcat server is through the Manager app. And this is going to ask us for a username and password. We can put in just to test this a user and pass for the password. We can see that's going nowhere. If we hit cancel though, we can see that we end up on this manager/HTML page. And it looks like we are going to have to brute force our way into this Apache manager. So we can copy this address, the manager.html, because we know that it's going to ask us to log into it. Come back over to our terminal. From here we can use a tool called Hydra to brute force this login page. I've already typed out the command here, but we'll break it down really quickly. And again, you can use the -h flag in Hydra to make sure that you understand where all of these flags came from and other flags that you could use with the tool. But with this C flag, this capital C, we are going to use a word list. Again, from seclists, there is a default credentials folder that we can use that also has default credentials for Tomcat. So this is a user and password list together. We're going to use the HTTP GET instead of the HTML for post form for Hydra, and then we paste in that jerry.htb8080 manager HTML that we copied from the browser before. We're going to press enter on this, and it's going to give us two sets of valid credentials. If we were to try the admin, it would give us a 403 access denied on this one. But with this Tomcat secret, we can go back and try to get back into the manager app. The username Tomcat and the password secret. Don't ever save passwords in the browser, please don't. In this, we find ourselves on the back end of the Tomcat Web Application Manager. So we can see that we have a handful of paths here. We have /docs, examples, host manager, and manager. None of these look particularly interesting, but we do have access also to deploy our own war files. And we can make a malicious war file to exploit the back end of this Apache Tomcat server. For this, we're going to be using a tool called MSF Venom. And this will allow us to create a custom reverse shell. We can then upload that reverse shell into the Tomcat manager to get a shell on the machine. So I've already written out the command here, but I will walk through. We're going to use the P flag to specify the Java shell reverse TCP. We have to use Java in this case because that's what the Tomcat application manager is going to be able to read. The local host is going to be our machine, and again you can get a reminder of your IP up here in the top right. The local port is the one that we will be listening on. 8443 is the one that I've chosen. You can change that if you like. And we're going to create a war file. We're going to write that into backup.war. We'll hit enter. This will take a few seconds and it'll spit out our file. We can see here we have that backup.war. So before we get around to uploading that .war file into the Tomcat Web Application Manager, we need to set up a listener. We're going to use a tool called Netcat. We're going to use the listen verbosely on a specific port, and we're going to specify that 8443 that we used in the MSF Venom command. Hit enter, and we can see that we are listening on port 8443. And we're going to leave that and go into the application manager once again and browse into that Jerry folder and pick up the backup.war file and deploy that. We can see that come up here, and we can see that our page is completely blank here. We check back on our listener though, and we can see that we have caught a reverse shell on the machine. So from here we need to use Windows commands, but first we want to figure out a question that I think all of us ask ourselves: who am I? And we can see here, funny enough, that we are actually in the NT authority system. This is the cream of the crop. This is the best place that we can possibly land on a Windows machine. This means that we have full access to the machine. So we can cd out of here and into the users folder, into the admin, and most of the time we can find our flags on the desktop. And we see here that we have a directory with the flags. So this was a little bit of a short video today, but as a reminder, we went over Apache Tomcat, login brute forcing with Hydra, and creating custom payloads with MSF Venom. And as always, if you're enjoying the content here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.